ಇಲಿಪಡೆಯ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಆನಂದ್ ವರ್ಧನ್. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಟ್ರಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಹಿ ಹಸ್ been with Indian national youth teams as performance analyst. He's worked in multiple ISL and I League teams as assistant coach as well as an analyst role. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಯಾಕೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, he has lot of experience in playing in KSFA B and C division. Also ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕಲಿ ತುಮಕೂರಿನ ಸಿದ್ಧಗಂಗಾ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಯಿಂದ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಕಲಿತು ಪಾಸ್ ಆದವರು. ಸೊ ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಆನಂದ್.
Thank you guys for the warm introduction.
And I also have Yash. Yash, ಸ್ವಾಗತ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಬ್ರೋ.
ಆನಂದ್, ಒಂದು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ನಿಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್, ಸೊ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್.
So guys, I understand a little bit of Kannada, but I'll like to speak in English. So thank you Praveen and Yash for inviting me for this discussion. And I think more or less Praveen, you covered everything that I have done. Presently I'm working as the assistant coach of reserve team for Kerala Blasters, and looking forward to next season as well. Previously I've been with the national teams, like you said. I worked with the senior women's team. I worked with Sudeva Delhi in I League club. Before that I worked with Minibra Punjab and a couple of other clubs here and there. So yeah, looking forward to this fruitful discussion.
Great. I think the first question is from Siddhaganga, from engineering, from Tumkur, how football?
I think my footballing journey started way before I reached engineering, or way before I decided that I'm going to work into professional football, because I've always played my life, fell in love with the game like all of us do, kicking a ball. So early on in my life, I was playing for my school teams, for local teams, just trying to embrace the culture of the game, just following the world football, following the top leagues, following ISL. And I've always had, gravitated towards the industry. I played a couple of different clubs in KSFA, like you said. I played university level. I played, SGFI level in school. But to be very honest with you, I was never, an exceptional talent in terms of playing. So I've always wanted, when I was in engineering, I was looking around what, how we can get into the football industry or the sports industry in general. And I met a couple of really helpful people who guided me along the way. Did some courses here and there, and did some internships here and there. And then, things started working out one after the another.
Great. Nice.
Bro, how was your growth from university level to coach a reserve side? So I have seen you personally, but tell us for viewers or for Praveen.
Okay, so I think first year or first internship was a little bit of a shock, a surprise, because I hadn't been exposed to the, like, the professional level of Indian football. The first time I went there and I saw the level of technical ability of players, or the ability of players, I was like, okay, I know now that why I didn't make it as a professional. And that was a huge level up in terms of watching the players, and in terms of taking it all in, because by the time we were in university, by the time we were playing university games, we used to think that, okay, we are at a decent level in the B or C division, we are at a decent level. But as you move up the table, as you move up, looking at professional players, seeing them on TV, it's very easy to criticize or say that, okay, they should have done this, they should have done that. But seeing them in training, that the things they are able to do time in, time out, technically, without making any mistakes, or being able to put in so difficult training sessions day in, day out. first couple of months was a little bit of a surprise, and like first couple of years I would say was extensive learning process, and a learning process that I guess is still going on. But yeah, taking everything in the stride, step by step, I guess.
Right. So yeah, Anand, I think you started the journey of as analyst in Kerala United FC, or it's
Yes.
Minerva, Kerala, right?
Kerala United, yes.
Got it. So and then I think you moved to Minerva youth teams, or it's the main team that you moved
Yes.
into.
Initially, so they have a very good setup there, and there are a lot of
Okay.
academies and the youth teams as well. And depending on the tournaments, depending on the schedule, you get different responsibilities. So started off with the youth teams, of course, and eventually, I think Mr. Bajaj liked my work, and the other coaches, liked my work. So I got a chance to work with the senior teams as well.
Yeah. So just one thing I think everyone, I mean, at a national setup knows, right? Minerva is one of the um, top performing teams in youth level, right? So they've produced a lot of players for the national team. There's a lot of players coming as well, right? So comparing from the Kerala United, right? I mean, it's a Kerala Premier League team, and then going into Minerva. How did that was a step up? And what do you think is the difference between the Minerva and other teams that you have worked in?
Okay, that's a nice question, Praveen. So with Kerala United, I was with the senior team,
Okay,
and with all due respect to United, they gave me my first opportunity. The setup was primarily of a senior team. Like their aim was to win the KPL, their aim was to win the I League 3, I League 2, and subsequently get into I League, right? So
correct.
most of their investment was in the senior team. When where we are looking at bringing in more established players in the Kerala region, right? But when I moved to Minerva, the biggest difference was because of the fact that Minerva has existed for a longer period of time. Let's say 15, 20, 15, 17 years now.
Yeah.
They have a more organized setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
With multiple age group teams, practicing, training daily, multiple coaches, like a proper academy where the senior teams are there, the reserve teams are there. There are I think 3 to 4 under 15 teams, and there was a very good setup of the World Cup batch that they call it, the
Yeah.
team that went on to win the MENA Cup in Dubai, and those boys I think are playing under 15 now, and they were scouted when they were under 10s. So it's like the fourth year or fifth year of professional training at Minerva. So based on that, I think the one of the biggest difference in Minerva is the positive is that they have a very good vision and they have a very good plan, and the facilities are amazing, I would say. If you are a football fan, or a like working professional, and you visit Minerva once and you see the culture that they have maintained, the passion that they have in in terms of the passion that is flowing through from the top to the bottom, it's amazing. No, and in my opinion, I think winning or losing are just byproducts of your environment. If you are maintaining a good environment, and if you're maintaining like a positive environment where everybody feels welcomed, and everybody is willing to give that 100%, winning happens automatically. And I think that is one of the reasons why Minerva has been doing so well consistently.
So, tell us about the national women's team experience, bro. You started at youth level and then worked with the senior women's. You worked with Bala Devi or Manisha. So, you recently worked with the women's team in Asian Cup, right? I saw
Yes.
your team hold a very good until 0-0 for halftime net against Japan, and
Yes.
later they conceded. So, tell us the experience.
Uh, very, like I think vast question. Yes, thank you for that. So first of all, the setups are little bit different in terms of let's say clubs, right? Where national team, like all of us know, national team camps happen before tournaments, and then It was a little bit of an issue for the senior men's team where it was everywhere in the media that they wanted longer camps and such. But I think with the women's department, that was not the case when I joined in, because IWL wasn't going on at that moment. So it wasn't difficult to get the players to national camp from the clubs. Initially, I was with the seniors. Then they put me to under 17s for the AFC Asian Cup under 17, and we were the first team that were able to qualify from round one to round two. So they were like round one, round two, and the final round. Final round would be, I think 8 teams going to the final round, and we lost out to a South Korean team in the second round. The South Korean team that eventually went on to win the championship in March earlier this year. So it was a very good experience. And the first round we were tied up with Kyrgyz, and we were playing Myanmar in Kyrgyz as well. So we won both the games, and the feeling was amazing. Being able to be a part of a team that scripted a little bit of a history is what for us it was a win, in a way that we are setting the standard for the next under 17 batch to come in and do this at the bare minimum. Obviously, we had some issues because not in terms of the AIFF, but the general operational issues. Because in a country that, okay, we can say that we had a population of 1.4 billion and so many people, why can't we produce 20 good women footballers? But if you look at the number of girls that are actively participating in the professional setup in a professional way, where they're training like a proper footballing setup, it's very less. Like, let's say Bengaluru FC, for example. uh, you know uh, I think 3 years ago we started the women's team. With Blasters, there have been issues, like all of us know. For other teams, most of the ISL teams don't even have a women's team set up at the moment. And IWL2 has begun. This was the first season of IWL2, so it's a process. Yes, we have to understand that, but depending on what was expected of us, and depending on the facilities and the opportunities that we got, I think the players did their best. Because they understood, even the coaching staff, we understood that we are not at a level right now of, let's say, a South Korea, or a Thailand or a Vietnam, but or a Japan. But we try to do our best. We try to play good football. We try to keep integrate the idea of playing proper football and not just kicking it long and trying to defend at an underage level. And then from then on, I was moved on to the senior team, where I had an amazing opportunity to work with Mr. Thomas Denerby, one of the most reputed coaches in the world of women's football.
Yep.
Like, for if we try to recall what he has done, he has taken the Sweden women's team to a couple of Olympics, couple of World Cups, taken Nigeria women's team to a World Cup, and like working first hand under him, trying to learn from his experiences, trying to see how he manages the teams, his thought process. I think was a very good opportunity for me personally to learn and grow. And I think he was, I believe he was satisfied with my work. And we did not get the results, like that shocked the footballing world, let's say. you know we wanted to, but like, if you see, like Yash has said, no, the top team in the world, second ranked team in the world, and we were ranked 56th at that time, and we were able to hold them at 1-0 till halftime, where we were playing you know exceptionally well without the ball. We were able to pick those gaps. We were able to find the patterns that we had to defend, and we had a set game plan that we were trying to follow. It was going good, but second half, in the first 10 minutes, we conceded 3 goals, and then everything went downhill from there. But at the end of the day, again, it's about having an experience. It's about having a certain path, that we have to understand that it's not going to be just one match, that okay, we wake up and we beat the best team in the world. But it has to be a process. Not to beat Japan or Vietnam, or let's say Australia once, we have to lose to them at least 10 times. to get those levels of playing experience. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it was a good experience. Helped me grow as an individual, and helped me watch and learn from the top standard of women's footballers in the country.
Yeah.
Playing. I was lucky enough to. Sorry if I'm taking this couple of minutes extra on this, but I
No,
was
no.
lucky enough to sometimes train with the players, and get a chance to fill in as a training player. And one of the best experiences I would say was playing against the top players that I used to look up to 5 7 years ago, when let's say Bala signed for Rangers and Manisha signed for Apollon. To be able to see their ability firsthand gave me an added advantage of understanding what the top women footballer looks like in the country.
Got it. So I think, Anand, continuing the same question, right, with the national team, what is the impact of Thomas Dennerby on the team, right? Because I think he had, I mean, as you said, right, we had some good matches. There could be not, there was no like impactful results, but I think there was good impact on the players, right? But then again, I think we moved on with Denaby, and then we got Chobade, right? How did that change impact the team? And so yeah, so that's the first question, I guess.
So personally, in my opinion, Mr. Thomas is one of the best coaches I think I have seen working, right? And I'm not just saying this because he has a history to back it up, but I'm saying this because I was like readily involved in his training sessions. And personally, again, in my opinion, this is completely my opinion. If you're looking at a coach, you know, judging coaches by just by the results, I think it's a little bit unfair, because there are a lot of factors that get involved, when deciding the outcome of a match. You know how it is, right? Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes it's a matter of luck. Sometimes it's just another off day for some of the players. Sometimes it's just pure footballing quality. So in terms of that, I would say he's one of the very good coaches that I worked under, because the amount of dedication he has, the amount of time he spends in trying to articulate his football sessions, in terms of having the details that are not usually, I would not say that, okay, it's very very rare, but it's not usually seen. And that is one of the reasons that when you see his sessions, when you see him work up close, you understand that why he has achieved so much that he has in his coaching career. And with someone who has played more than, I think, 300 350 games in the top division of Sweden, he understands what a player requires. There are a lot of coaches, I would feel, that haven't played, maybe not professionally, but at a level. Because if you have played at a level, you are able to think in the perspective of a player. And if they are able to relate to it or not, is, I think, is a huge factor. On top of it, I think he had amazing management skills, making everybody feel welcome, making everybody involved, being it the staff or the players. And being very humble in his approach, because like, he comes in all with all of his wealth of experience and all of his you know ability to drive teams towards a certain goal. And I think that made him stand out. And on that point, again, a lot of people say that why not Indian coaches, and why not why foreign coaches, and what is the difference and what's not. In my opinion, it's not about the color of the skin or the nationality, but it's about the kind of work that you can bring in, about the type of dedication that you can show. But in terms of the education, football education, that people coming in from a footballing nation receive, let's say take me for example. I'm what, a 25 26-year old analyst who has all his experience working in India. And if you compare my profile to someone who's coming from, let's say, a similar background, but working in Spain or Portugal or England, or Germany, they bring in a lot more to the table than I would be able to, because they have been raised and they have been working in the more stable footballing setup, if you guys get what I mean. So a lot of
Yeah,
times we try to say that, okay, why why foreign coaches and why not Indian coaches, and Indian coaches can be as good. I'm not saying that Indian coaches are not good. Indian coaches could be, some coaches could be as good as, or maybe even better than foreign coaches. But
yeah,
that is not the point of, shouldn't be the point of the discussion. The point of discussion should be, what are the processes that the coach is willing to bring in, what is their ideas, and how they are going to mold the team according to their philosophy. And based on that, I think, I believe, yeah, maybe I'll share a little bit of something from the inside of the team. So the day Mr. Dinerby confirmed that he will not be continuing as the head coach of the senior women's team, and there were multiple reasons behind it, not just AIFF for the results. And you know, I think close to 30 people, including staff and the players, were in that room where Mr. Dinerby just said that he will not be continuing anymore, and this will be like a final day of us with him. And there was not a single person in the room who did not have tears in his eyes or her eyes. And that is the kind of impact that Mr. Thomas had left on us, has left on us, that the way he has touched the let's say hearts of all the players, or the staff. Everybody had nothing but respect for him at that point. And I think that was one of the good things that we learned from him, and on how to manage the teams. And moving ahead, I think, I wouldn't comment a lot on coach Chaubas and other people, because I haven't seen them work up close. And I'm pretty sure that if she coach is able to get results in IWL, and if she has a good staff backing her, they will be able to have good results, or at least try to play decent football going ahead. So this window, I think we are playing Myanmar couple of matches,
yeah.
and I wish them all the luck. I often speak to the players, and stay in touch and try to see how their journeys are progressing. And hopefully we get a couple of new faces this time, who make their debuts, and try to impress us with their football.
Yeah, I think with the current coach, right? I think there's some complaints on how we are playing. That's one thing, and the other thing is the substitutions, right? There's no proper substitutions happening. Like, I mean, there's a lot of issues being raised with the women's team. I think, as we all know, right? So I think that's hopefully. I think we come to a case where we get results and have a better performance, right? I mean, we know that everyone focus on the men's team, right? Because with the issues with the Steam Act and everything, but I think the same importance is not given to the women's team as well, right? After Thomas left, I think there's no been um, the results have been going down, the performance has been going down. That's one thing I think everyone knows. uh, Hopefully we also focus on women's team because they have that potential, right? I mean, we have I mean, Manisha is playing in Apollo, Bala is playing in Rangers. They have wealth of experience. I think now even we have the goalkeeper who is playing in Australian league, right? So it's good that we have a lot of players moving out compared to what we have with the senior men's team, right? So hopefully we see good results there, right? And yeah, coming to the other question with the national team, right? How's the performance is demanded with the national team, right? Because club football is something everyone plays throughout the year, right? And national team is where you get into a camp for 3-4 weeks, and then you kind of expect a good result from there, right? And you need to show that performance, right? So, I mean, if you could just tell about that.
Uh, okay, so in my opinion, again, I think this is the standard procedure of most of the tournaments in the world, right? Where if the leagues are going on and if there's a FIFA window, the clubs are bound to release their players and not more than 2 weeks earlier, right? So having that idea that that we are having performances that have not been going well, and we are not able to match up with the top teams in Asia, has a very broad aspect of discussion to it. Because in my opinion, let's say, even for example, let's say the game against Qatar, right, for the senior men's team, everybody was more or less focused on the goal should have been given or not given, or the ball was out of line or not. But in my opinion, that is just one incident. We are just talking about one incident that happened, could happen to all of us. And every team suffers sometimes positively, sometimes negatively from refereeing decisions. So it's not completely unheard of. But then basing the whole incident as the center point of the whole campaign, I think that's not right. I think if you are judging the teams, there is a standard process of evaluating the teams or evaluating players, where we look at players tactically, technically, and physiologically. In from what I understand, it's like you divide the progress of players into three different parts. Physiologically is basically the physical aspects of the players, how the different numbers, basically, how long a player can jump, or how tall he is, what is the body fat percentage, what are the different test scores, what is the balance of a player, what a level of agility he or she has. And these kind of tests are based on basically your physiological building your physiological profile of a player. And then comes the tactical and the technical profile. Tactics is basically what you are able to do in your team, and we all know what tactics is at the end of the day. Technically is basically what you're able to do with the ball, how strong you are with the ball, and how much of an idea as a player you have of committing less to less mistakes, and getting more and more positive you know outcomes from every sort of situation where you are able to receive the ball or pass the ball, or do the different technical actions. So in my opinion, we as a nation, and not just as a top national team, we as a nation lack a lot in terms of technical ability. And if you look at Euros, for example, let's say have a couple of screens where you're watching India versus Qatar, and you're watching, let's say, Portugal versus Georgia, right? It's very simple and easy for a even for a fan, or even I would say who is not even a fan, to tell the differences between, let's say, a Georgia playing Portugal and an Indian playing India playing Qatar. It's very, very blatant that we are not at the same level technically, and as compared to other nations. And then at the end of the day, that comes down to grassroots. Yeah, and again, there's I know there's a lot of discussion that goes on the internet these days, and it's a good thing, and everybody talks about grassroots and everything. But yeah, that is where it starts, in my opinion.
Famous team, right? The KBFC, where you are coaching as a reserve team, coaching the reserve team as assistant coach, right? So tell us about that experience, right? I mean, it's almost been a year since you are with the reserve team as well as their youth teams, right? And how's the experience been? And yeah, tell us about the whole things.
Okay, so I think to start off with, I think the best part about being part of Blasters is other fans. Honestly, like it's nothing like anywhere else in the world, I'm telling you. We There are some examples that you would believe, you would say that these are things that come out of a storybook. That these are the things that don't happen in Indian football, you never heard of. I mean, there are people who travel to home games, do a journey for more than 24 hours, in a bus. And traveling to home games for 24 hours, leaving behind all their, jobs and families and everything, and, come and support, have that community feeling in Kerala. I think it's the best thing about Blasters. I would say the respect, the love that the fans give you. Random people on the streets, right? They would stop you, and they would already know who you are. And they would be asking about the players in the teams. They would be asking how is the trainings going. They would be asking, what are the plans, and they would be having, general discussion on football. Multiple times, people refuse to take money for services. Let's say we eat at a restaurant, and we're just coming out of training, and then they know that, okay, these people are from Blasters, and they refuse to take the bill, saying that, okay, you guys are from the Blasters, come again, and all of that. So the love and the respect is amazing. And if I come down to the footballing side of things, I think Blasters are one of the well-run clubs in the country. It's because in the last 4 to 5 seasons, if you see that we have been, been on a steady rise, right? We haven't won the championship, of course, but before, let's say, before the technical director, Mr. Carolus, came in back in 2019, I think. Blasters always used to have, like on and off seasons. Some seasons they'll be at the top. Some seasons, fighting to be at in the playoffs. Some seasons finishing, bottom last. But now, because there is a proper structure, I believe, in place, that footballing people are making the footballing decisions, and there is a certain, pathway, certain vision that the club is following, is going towards. And I believe that is one of the, reasons why we have been on the rise in terms of not just senior team, but also youth teams. And if you've been following Blasters last couple of seasons, you must have noticed that we have promoted quite a few players from reserve teams to the senior teams, and those players have been doing exceptionally well. And I'm not just saying this because I'm part of Blasters, or those players been in the reserve team. But if you look at Ayman, for example, Ayman had the most number of successful take-ons in ISL for all the players last season, for all the Indian players, Indian wingers. And this is some random kid who is playing his second year of top division football. And that shows the level of commitment I think Blasters have towards developing players and integrating them into the first team of as soon as possible or whenever they're ready.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, right? I mean, I'm an Azhar, whoever are playing in the coming from the reserve team to the main team and showing their capabilities in the ISL, right? It's great. I think we need more of such youth team performing, graduating the players from the reserve teams, and then going to the ISLs, right? And I think what we need more also is those players getting more exposure in the national circuit as well, right? And I think we'll see a lot of players coming from a lot of reserve teams, not only Blasters, right? I think it could be
Yes.
Sudeva, it could be your Punjab. I think specifically Punjab as well, right? There's a lot of players coming from. I mean, if you've followed the RFDL, right? Reliance, you can. I mean, you have a lot of from BFC as well. So. I think great prospect. I think what we are missing is the under 23 league, which is not happening right now at the Indian circuit. But I think if that gives right, I think more competitions and more game would be good, right?
Which is the best reserves team you have come across?
Definitely, I would say Blasters at the end of the day, because I will tell you why. I will tell you why. I'll give you the reasons why. So again, coming down to not comparing Indian coaches and foreign coaches, I think Blasters are the only reserve team in the country that have a foreign, reserve team head coach, Mr. Thomas, that who's my head coach. I work under him,
Yeah.
and Rafal was also there as the goalkeeping coach. So having two quality, foreigners having and not just foreigners who are just coming in and completely new to the Indian circuit, and like trying to change everything. Thomas has been a part of Kibu's I League winning team back in 2019, so he's been here for around 4 to 5 years. So he understands the Indian level. He understands how Indian players work, and what are the different challenges that players face. But based on those, again, if you have to define what's the best team, I would say if you're just looking at results, Punjab have got very good results this season. You know, Bengaluru have been consistent couple of years, 3 years. But then again, if I'm here to quote Mr. Naushad, he when one of his interviews he said in the 10 years he was there at BFC, they were not able to promote one quality professional into the senior setup. So maybe they won RFDL or stuff like that. But if you're if the youth team is not able to push players, at least one or two players, to the senior setup every year, you know I think I would say there's some work to be done. And going ahead, like you said, Reliance, I think amazing academy, huge investment, quality people working there, and top some of the top coaches in the country, working there, and we are starting to see the fruits of it. Now, like let's say Sanan, who's coming into the ISL as a 20-year-old, and like he's not looking like a player who's playing his first season in the top division, or is not looking like another 20-year-old. So you can see the difference in quality when youth development starts to show its results in, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years. And hopefully, I think the number of teams that are focusing on reserve teams, or grassroots teams, is going to increase, because now teams have started to understand, and it's very blatant. It's not like rocket science. It's very easy to figure out that if a local boy from your locality, or from your area, who has grown up alongside the fans, he is able to take up the stage and represent what the club means. It means so much more to the fans than, let's say, a foreigner coming in from a different country, and playing some games, and then saying that I would die for this club, and the next season going on to somewhere else. So that kind of a culture is required, and people are able to understand that now, that how to build that kind of an atmosphere and culture where uh, players from under 17s can progress to youth teams, and players from youth teams can progress to senior setups.
Got it. Got it. I think that's a great thing, right? With what is happening with a lot of football academies, or a lot of professionals clubs building the player retentions things, right? But yeah, coming back to the footballing in Karnataka, right? I mean, you have played in KSFA B and C divisions, right? So overall, coming from, I mean, it's been, I think, 4 5 years back. I think you have played in that particular leagues. Um, what do you think of the current footballing culture or footballing atmosphere in Karnataka? Because we have been having a lot of footballing academies coming up. I think we have the highest academy in Bangalore, in the whole country, right? There's youth leagues. Even BDFA is getting competitor. I mean, competitive. Yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on the Karnataka football scenes.
I think you guys, know it as well as I do, if not more. How the scene has developed in the past, let's say 5 or 6 or 7 years, and I think a lot of it has to come down to the good work that has been put done by KSFA. And in my opinion, what I see is there is a vibrant playing culture in the city, and not just let's say Bangalore, but around the state. People, even if people don't follow actively, people play. And let's say Mangalore, for example, Mangalore has a very vibrant playing culture as well. And when where we studied, Tumkur had a little bit of a playing culture as well. And there are a lot of kids who are exposed to the playing culture, But the, let's say, the leagues, what the leagues have done is, try to channel it in a more professional way, where there is a certain pathway that, okay, you register your club at C, and then you win the CBA, and you play the super division, and then you have a chance to go into I League 2 and I League 3 subsequently. And clubs like SC Bengaluru, clubs like Bengaluru United, who are doing a lot of work, at a level where it's not glamorous. Like if you are doing the same kind of work for, let's say, Mohan Bagan or East Bengal, or Bengaluru FC, for example, you get a lot more attention, and a lot more, let's say, you are able to reach a lot more wider audience if you are working, doing the same kind of work for an ISL team. But doing that for a state team, doing that for a super division team, and having the plan to grow sustainably, in terms of SC Bangalore story, I mean, wow, what a story. If you are able to capitalize on this club form 3 years 4 years ago, and they won their way up, and they're, if what happens if they win the I League next season, get into ISL. So that makes up like a, like let's say a benchmark for other clubs, in not just in Bangalore but the rest of the country, that okay, this is how you do it. In 5 years you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of crores, but if you are smart enough, if you are able to understand the structure of the pyramid, you know enough that you can be, in 5 years you can be playing the top division in the country, getting in all the perks that come with it. But at the end of the day, there are some things that I would I'm not exactly pleased about, is because the most of the playing culture, or the league's culture that exists in Karnataka exists in Bangalore itself. And Yashas will tell you much better, how difficult it was for us to arrange games, or arrange friendly matches, or be able to play competitive sport in terms of as a university team, or as a local club. And being, and we were not located that far away from Bangalore as well, maybe 60-70 kilometers, and for us also it was very difficult to be able to participate in different universities tournaments in Bangalore, or go somewhere else and participate. So in my opinion, I think the footballing culture has to expand its way outside Bangalore, trying to capture the imagination and the market that is close to Bangalore, where we are able to, let's say, have a university team or college teams, or different teams, and have a separate league of their own, or maybe incorporate them into, let's say, a C division or a B division, where we are able to arrange matches, not just in the KSFA stadium, but then taking matches away from Bangalore as well, so that there are a little bit of crowds that come in, that follow, if there is a match happening. And I think that is also going to eventually change a little bit, because I think Real Chickmangalore was the first team from outside Bangalore participated in Super Division last season, so that's another positive. FC Kodagu has been doing it for a couple of years, I think now more than a couple of years. But again, they have the whole setup in Bangalore, and they are just playing under the Kodagu banner, but they are not able to take the games to Coorg, or Chickmangalore are not able to take the games to Chickmangalore. So this is something that I think KSFA can work towards expanding, because Karnataka, as we all know, is like a huge state, and just limiting the footballing culture to Bangalore, is hindering the growth in a more widespread manner.
Yep, I think that's fair, right? I mean, we have just been concentrating mostly on Bangalore. I think Belgaum is going good. Belgavi, if I have to be precise, right? Um, uh, Belgaum United is doing wonders. Specifically, I think they've been playing good games in the youth leagues across different age groups. But yeah, I think they are based out of there and playing here in Bangalore as well. But yeah, as you said, Chikmagaluru or Kodagu FC is not able to get the game to those regions. But yeah, I think a lot of work needs to be done in that particular manner with KSFA. I think University League is something that they can think of and can go in a good manner, because I think those crowd coming from the universities will be huge ones. So it's both ends, right? One is footballing, and I think building that fan engagement things is something that we can job, right, which is the performance analyst. How do you see the opportunities, and how can one get into this particular role, right? Which is very much important for a lot of people who have interest in sports, who want to get into a football teams in different roles, right? I think performance analyst is one of the roles that they can kind of get into.
Mhm. So I think I've talked, a lot about this on the internet, and people. The first question that people ask me is, what courses do you do? What do you do? So in a broader perspective, there is no such like a defined course, which you do and then you can jump into the industry straight away. And it's not like, let's say, people confuse it with let's say a degree in engineering. And if you do engineering from a decent place, you by the time you are out of the college, you already have a job in your hand. you know and that's not the same case in terms of sports industry. And the most important aspect of working in sports is, I think, being willing to put in the hours to do internships, to do freelance work, where you might not be getting paid, or you might not be getting paid a lot, but the way you are showcasing yourself, that okay, this is the kind of work that I can do, and this is where I'm ready to put in the number of hours, where I'm willing to spend a lot of time trying to learn the job. Yeah, that will make you stand out. And of course, there are a lot of courses out there. There are some based out in India, there's some based out in foreign places. You can do a masters in sports science as well. You can have masters in performance analytics. And then it's more or less about trying to market yourself as an analyst, showcasing your work on the internet, trying to reach out to as many people as possible, in a way where you can literally like reach out to people. Hey, this is, I am an upcoming analyst, this is my work. If you could go through it and just reach out, give me a feedback. That is the way you get started. And once you have some internships under your belt, you can try to look out for full-time roles in I League clubs, in ISL clubs, and state league clubs. In terms of when you ask me how are the opportunities, going ahead, I think this is one of the most rapidly growing sectors in the sports industry,
Yeah.
performance analysis. And I'll tell you why. Because you know sports per se in India is not at its innovative best. When we are looking at any aspect of sport, we are taking reference from, let's say, the European level, or the American level, or the top of the world game, in terms of depending on the game. Let's say, if you have to, if India decides that we have to produce 10 Olympians in the sport of table tennis. So we basically go ahead and look at the world leader in table tennis, which is of course China, and see the model that they are following, and see what they are doing, and try to implement it in a more specific way to the ecosystem of our country, and then build around it. So that is where we are able to now realize the importance of science, and sports science, and statistics, and mathematics in general, in terms of uh, you know like the footballing landscape, or a different sporting landscape. And if you look at the structure of clubs in, let's say, England, or Spain, or Portugal, or Germany, they more or less have at least one or two analysts working with each individual team, and giving them multiple data points, giving them statistics. And at the end of the day, this is where the top level of football is at right now, and this is where we are aspiring to be. So if you keep an eye on different sports as well. Now there are a lot of sports that have started to incorporate video analysts, and performance analysts, and data analysts into different kinds of roles, right? And for example, let's say, if you are an analyst at BFC senior team, you are not going to tell Sunil Shetty how to kick a ball, right? And you're not going to tell Shetty that something that he already doesn't know. because he has had such a huge playing career, and such a massive talent he was, and then the way he has progressed in his career. You are not going to come up and say, okay, you if you do this and this will happen, but rather you are going to give more insights as an analyst. That is again the difference between an analyst and let's say a layman, for example, who watches the sport or follows the sport, or a fan who follows the sport, or a player who plays the sport. you know where you are able to see the perspective from a wider range of views, right? Let's say, if let's say if we continue this example and we see that, okay, Chetri is much, is completing 90% of his take-ons from the central part of the pitch, and he's only completing, let's say 25% of his take-ons from the right side of the pitch, or when he's playing out on the wing. And this is an insight that you can give him. You are not telling him that, okay, you should do less take-ons on the left, or you should do more take-ons on the right, or you should change your style of playing, but you are giving him insight. You're giving him data based on his performances. Okay, these are the last 25 take-ons that you did. you know in the center, if you did 25, you were able to successfully take on 24 take-ons, so which means you are more comfortable doing it in the center. And on the left, you are not able to do, if you take on 10 times and you are able to win the take-ons only 3 times, which means there is some room for improvement in that aspect. So that is where you can help the top professionals as an analyst, where you are not just giving out opinions, but you are giving data, you're giving insights, you're giving basically proof of what has been going on in the wider perspective.
Yeah, great. I think that's what the players need, right? Not kind of, okay, ye karo wo karo nahi hai, but again with the data of this is what's happening, right? And this is where we can kind of
Finally, before joining to whatever clubs or whatever teams, we used to go to Kandirava and sing a chant. So please sing a chant for us.
So yeah, of course, because I used to live in, we used to live together close to Bangalore, and that's how me and Yashas met, on in a home game, and we were just returning on the same bus, and then we were like, oh, okay, you are also from the same university. And one thing that I always love about BFC as a club is the fan culture. The fans are everything, for a club of that stature. I think it's, and to be very honest, it's a little bit different than Blasters, because I think if the number of fans that BFC has is definitely less, but that brings in more quality of people, you know so people who are more invested in the club. And if you are going to like ask me what's my favorite chant is, it was always about Chetri, and every time. And the best part about Kantireva or BFC was the way fans reacted to, and even now, even fans react to going a goal down,
yeah.
or Chetri taking a chance, and that is one of the best, I think, experiences of me, being as a fan, where I remember we were there for the Jamshedpur game in 2017 or 18, if I'm not wrong, where Gaurav Mukhi scored an equalizer in the 93rd minute, and for one moment, the whole stadium went silent. We were leading, we were top of the table, we were playing good, and one moment, you know, everyone was silent. It was like a draw, and it wasn't even like a minute, maybe like 10 seconds or 12 seconds. Everybody went silent, and then there was a huge roar of support. And every one of us knew that, okay, it's going to be a draw at the end of the day. It's 94 minutes equalizer. But even then, the last 1 minute or 2 minutes, and even after the game, the fans kept on chanting and supporting the team, and it did not feel like we had conceded a goal. It almost felt like we had scored a goal,
Yeah,
and that is one of the best, I think, feelings of being, in that stadium watching BFC play. And I believe, this is one of the main reasons why BFC have been so successful. in the past last decade, where they have won all the trophies that have are available. And I wish the club nothing but good amount of success, and I hope Chetri continues to inspire us for years to come.
Yeah, you're still fan of a BFC. We can
Hey,
say.
always,
I
always.
definitely try to go to all the games that are possible, and not just
Yeah,
for BFC. I'm planning to go to some games for Shillong as well, because I've seen the fan culture in Shillong. My goodness,
yeah,
it's amazing.
and
The amount. Yeah, yeah.
I
Please
think
go ahead. Please go ahead.
even Iceball, right? I think that's a
Even as
stadium
well.
that you kind of visit, right? I
Yeah,
think even I have plans to go there, but not sure when. But definitely, I think those are the two things that even I have in my bucket list: Iceball and Shillong. But
yeah,
yeah, I think those two teams have a good fan following as well as the how they support the teams, right?
And one more thing is he won't miss a season games. At least he will visit a couple of games. Maybe last time he visited against Northeast or East
yeah.
Bengal. Uh,
East Bengal, I think. Yeah,
yeah,
Charles
East
was there.
Bengal. Yeah.
Yeah, next time I think we'll sing together in the West
Yeah,
Block.
next time we
Hey,
can
he will
catch
be
up
there. He
definitely.
will be there.
I don't know if Yashas knows this. I was there for the final match in Kolkata as well, when we won. BFC won the Duran Cup.
Durant Cup.
So
Oh, okay.
I tried, and it's not just about like being like a hardcore fan of one team. It's more about trying to incorporate that feeling of watching a game and enjoying a game. And to be very honest, the best part about football, first is playing, and the second is watching a game in the stands. Nothing beats that. So I
Yeah,
try to reach out and try to attend as many games as possible, irrespective of if it's BFC or Blasters or any other team for that matter. You know, and to be very very frank about it, I think BFC are one of the well-run clubs in the country, and in the last 10 years, the success speaks for itself, right? And yeah, and I hope I don't get a lot of DMs from Blasters fans, trying to put this on me somehow. But yeah, I think it's a healthy rivalry in my opinion. I love
yeah.
the fact that it's a big rivalry between
And
Blasters and PFC, and we need more of those, I think, in
it's
Indian
I
football.
think what it has done is it's grown the game in both ways, right? I mean,
Yes.
even in Kerala or even in Bangalore or Karnataka, as I say, right? I mean, if it's a KBFC game, I think people travel from Tumkur, Bangalore, I mean Mangalore,
Yes.
or even Pune, right? I've seen people traveling from Pune to KBFC game in Bangalore, right? I mean, we do. I mean, I've traveled to Kochi. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of other
Okay.
of our fans who have traveled to Kochi as well, right? So that's a good thing to have. I think it grows the game more to every corner of uh, the place, right? So yeah, that's all we
And
have.
even for the club, I will tell you from experience, even for the people in the club, it means a lot. Even when we were playing RFDL game, the second round, first game we played against Bengaluru, if if I'm not wrong. Yeah, we played against Bengaluru. We lost out, I think, 1-0 in that game, and everybody was motivated, because we are playing our biggest rivals, and everybody wants to give their 100%. And at the end of the day, it's all about bragging rights. We are still,
Yeah,
as Blasters, we are still looking for the first win in Kantireva. I hope it happens next season. Hopefully
not
I'll
soon.
still be there in the game.
Not
Hey, you
soon.
will cheer
And
for BFC, right?
no, I'm
Don't put
all
him in a spot,
Blasters all
bro.
in all. Yeah.
Don't put in a spot. He's already scared of the DMs he's
No,
getting.
I'm not a fan anymore. So, I'm not a fan anymore. I am working. I want my team to win the team that I'm working for. So, you know how it goes. Yeah.
Ibin versus Anand.
So, yeah. And it's a big thing for the fans as well. At the end of the day, I think we need a lot more of that, where
Hopefully,
there
yeah.
is a little bit of banter and little bit of like social media gimmicks where clubs are trying to have a shot at each other. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that everybody understand that at the end of the day, it's all about the football. It's all about and football is all about showing respect. Because couple of incidents, maybe it's nothing that we should address it about here, but at the end of the day, we have to understand that it's just people who are supporting their team, right? And being violent, or trying to call out people, or being unnatural in terms of the conflict. I think that's not a way forward that we should be. And we should always try to support our team in terms of the good days or the bad days, and eventually try to like have those experiences of winning or losing matches. And at the end of the day, that's why the sport is so addictive. It gives those kind of emotions that stick with us for lifetime.
Yep, I think healthy rivalry is something that all are looking forward, right? I mean, that's what is important, and it should not turn violent in terms of the abuses or anything, right? I mean, or anything that we know, right? I mean, it's happening in some cases, but I think that's what I think both set of fans should be sure of and mindful of, right? So, yeah, I think that's all we had, Anand. I think thank you so much for speaking with us for an hour, sharing your experience. And yeah, I think see you next time, maybe soon.